Welcome to the podcast, Claim Your Excellent Life, with your host, Suzanne Kellner-Zinck, where she helps professional women learn how to be happy. Suzanne will teach you how to do this through building high self-esteem, relaxation and calm, and good, healthy relationships. Tune in every week as Suzanne shares effective strategies to help you claim your excellent life with happiness techniques, self-esteem building exercises, relationship tips, and relaxation information. Make sure to head over to dawningvisions.com to subscribe to the newsletter to receive your keys to happiness, as well as other useful free gifts for you.
In this episode of Claim Your Excellent Life, we are going to talk about changing a negative situation into a positive situation. And this is a question that was actually asked on Quora, which I have not yet answered for them. However, it's a really important question, so let's see what we can do to turn things around. The first thing that one needs to understand is that anybody who's living life is going to have challenges, and sometimes things are not going to turn out the way that one might have thought, believed that it might. And depending on how one looks at the situation, it could be anywhere from not that big a deal to devastating. Now, one of the things I do know from doing timeline therapy, both for myself and with most of my clients, anyone can get a positive learning off of any situation that arises. And I don't care how devastating, horrific, or otherwise the situation was. And in fact, when the clients do timeline therapy, the ones who have the most horrific experiences are the ones who get the deepest and most meaningful learnings, positively stated, that are possible. So we can always turn a negative into a positive. The questions that one needs to ask of oneself when these things happen are the following. First, is this something that can be remediated in some way, shape, or form? If it's a health issue, hopefully you're able to take care of it and get the situation under control. If it's a financial block or terrible situation that occurs, like if money was taken from you in some fashion or form, it's certainly a very unpleasant situation, to say the least. I've been through it a few times in my life, so I certainly understand how that works. And the only thing that you can really say on that situation is, one, is it really worth the fight to try to get it back? Usually it's not, because people don't have the money in the first place. Otherwise, they wouldn't have taken your money, right? And the second thing is, maybe they weren't the best people to be with anyway. It's like people showing their true colors, as they say. And then what I've always noted as a result, and this is actually a story that goes back to when I was in California. I had a roommate out there, and I got along with her okay. She did seem to be a little paranoid. But otherwise, she was nice, and she was always very nice to me. Yet, she did not take responsibility for busting the garage door of the landlady with her big, huge vehicle. So I ended up paying for that damage because the landlady knew that my car was parked in her garage for one night because it was totally packed and ready to go. I was going to leave that day, except my other, more crazy roommate called the cops on me and wouldn't let me in the house. And interestingly enough, when the cops showed up and saw that I was just packing to leave for good, they forced her to stay in her room until I was gone. That was kind of funny, actually. So actually that's 2 for 1 right there, right? One wants to make a big deal out of nothing. I wasn't even there the entire day. I hadn't been there for most of the week because I had a job up in Rancho Palos Verdes working with a woman who had gone through a knee replacement, taking care of her and her husband. And this is what I came back to. So she thought that she was going to do damage to me, and she's the one who had to spend the entire rest of the night until I left the next morning in her room, based on what the cops told her. And the other one, she had a worse situation arise, actually. In her case, she had bought herself a new car, well, it was a used car, at an auction. And she had put all this money into buying the thing, and then she couldn't even put it out on the road because the mechanic said that there were issues with the title to it. So she was out a couple of $1,000s, and that was a problem because she wasn't making hardly any money in her job. So it isn't that I want to necessarily get even with people as much as what goes around comes around, right? And there is a little bit of a sense of, for those folks who don't want to treat people correctly, sometimes there are ways that the gods get even with them. So something like that can happen. In a lot of cases, what I have found is that the situation that I thought was going to be okay didn't turn out okay, and I realized that it was okay that it wasn't okay. It just gave me an opportunity to do something different. Like when I went out to California, I was really looking forward to moving out there for like 20 years. I had done so many trainings out there. People are always smiling and happy. Beautiful weather. The beaches are beautiful. Not that I spend a lot of time on the beaches, being as white as an albino almost. Yet at sunset, I like walking the beach. And I like having meals by the beach. But yet, the people there were not very nice. In fact, they were pretty, well, very superficial, most of them, and didn't want people to really get to know them too well. And that was a problem, being an outgoing person looking to make new friends, especially when you're in business for yourself and you do a lot of networking and stuff, you know. It's pretty intriguing. Whereas in the Northeast, where I was born and grew up, and certainly in Massachusetts area, where I was for 35 years after my college education, people can be very direct, but they'll have your back. So very different. And the lesson there was, I got to live my dream. I met a few very, very important people in my life now out there that I would not have met otherwise. And I don't need to live there anymore because I did it. And that's important. So there's always a way that you can turn something that is seemingly negative into a positive, and we call that wisdom, when you learn from those things that you do in your life. Even when I was like really sick, back in my 20s and 30s, I still don't even understand how I did most of the stuff that I did, because even during that time I was choking and gagging on all this phlegm from the bronchial asthma the doctors had no idea how to deal with, and then the mood fluctuations all the time, the bipolar 2. I was still working, and I was still going to school. And I don't even know how I did it. But I look back on a lot of the stuff that I've been through, and, you know, the reason that my clients do so well is because I understand them from the inside out. I may not know their specific situations, and I have to learn about that. But in terms of understanding what it feels like to be depressed, or to be, shall we say, hypopanic or high, or to have people tell you that you did things that you don't remember doing that hurt them, and being diagnosed by people who don't have degrees to diagnose you, and things of this nature, these are all things that I can relate to pretty clearly, because not only was I one of those people, operative word was, I've worked with people who have had these things done to them as well. And That's where the empathy comes in. To be able to understand another person's perspective instead of thinking that because you have a bunch of little initials after your name that you know everything. Let me tell you something. Until you've been there, you don't know anything. Not really. And I'm not saying that you have to necessarily experience every issue that a given client has in order to be able to be empathetic. What I am saying is that when you overcome your own challenges and certain themes, THEMES, run through with how people classify or categorize you based on those situations, you understand a lot better from where these people are coming, who are your clients or patients, depending on your profession. And that's actually been a really great asset in my world because it's super fulfilling to watch people change and let go of all their negativity and their horrible histories and really come into their own and really create a compelling future that they're working toward. And on LinkedIn, so many times I see ex-clients of mine doing so well. It's like amazing. It's the best. So keep in mind that most things that seem negative really may feel that way in the moment, but when you look at the bigger picture, you can get a much better positive learning from it, and you know that it's an experience, and you may not want to have that experience again, and if that's what you get out of it, that's great. Few things in this life are not workoutable, and even when people get terminal diagnosis, some people go into remissions and they actually permanently get rid of their illness. I would say that someone who's been in remission for an illness for a decade or more probably doesn't have that illness. And things can be turned around with your attitude, and that's the other thing that's really important to keep in mind. Our attitudes in terms of how we look at our lives and how we feel about our lives is so important. Yeah, if you go through a hard time, give yourself a half an hour to feel bad about it, and then get your positive learning on it and release it and move on with the other things in your life that are important. Because generally speaking, we human beings are really good at coming up with meanings to things that maybe don't have those meanings. And we get really enmeshed in situations that we need not, instead of letting go of those things that don't particularly matter. And most especially letting go of those people who really think they know you better than you and they don't have a clue because, well, maybe you don't talk to them because of that attitude, for example. The most important thing, though, is to have a perspective in life knowing that there's things out there that you want to do that are important to you and that you make those things happen. If you do that, regardless of the challenges that come up, you'll be well on your way to having a positive life overall, and that's what matters, overall. As always, I thank you for spending your time with me. Till next time. If you have enjoyed Claim Your Excellent Life, we'd really appreciate it if you go over to iTunes and give it a 5-star review. If you have found Claim Your Excellent Life to be helpful to you, and maybe even life-altering with the information that we have shared here, and to allow us to continue this work, which we really do enjoy doing for you, you can sponsor us at patreon.com. That's spelled P as in Paul, ATREON as in Nancy.com. Again, that's P as in Paul, AT as in Tom, REON as in Nancy.com, where there's a few different levels of sponsorship that you can choose from to help us to continue doing this work. We thank you for any assistance that you are able to give us.
Thank you for listening to the podcast, Claim your excellent life with your host, Suzanne Kellner-Zinck, where she helps professional women learn how to be happy. Suzanne teaches you how to do this through building high self-esteem, relaxation and calm, and good, healthy relationships. Tune in every week as Suzanne shares effective strategies to help you claim your excellent life with happiness techniques, self-esteem building exercises, relationship tips, and relaxation information. Make sure to head over to dawningvisions.com to subscribe to the newsletter to receive your keys to happiness, as well as other useful free gifts for you.